With COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations up in Michigan, Governor Gretchen Whitmer said her administration will extend emergency workplace restrictions this week by another 6 months that effectively prohibit in-person office work if it can be done remotely. Whitmer said an extension of the MIOSHA workplace rules put in place before the fall surge in COVID cases does not necessarily mean that they will remain in effect until October. The governor said, "I know when we do extend them, which we will, people are going to think that this means you can't go into the office for another 6 months. And that's not the case," Whitmer said today at the news conference in Ypsilanti. "But by law, we have to give this second extension so that we can get some of the tools." All right, what does that all mean? That's sort of some mixed messaging, but joining us now to talk through it a little bit is Rich Studley, President and CEO of the Michigan Chamber of Commerce. Rich, thanks for being on the Guy Gordon Show.
Good afternoon. Glad to be with you.
Yeah, so it sounds like the governor wants to cover herself and extend the order that expires on Wednesday, but not really get into when and how long it will last for.
Well, part of the challenge with government regulation by press conference is employees and employers across the state now are really in a situation where we don't know for sure what the governor has proposed, what the administration will do. I can tell you, on behalf of Michigan Chamber members across the state who employ over 1 million Michigan residents, we're extremely disappointed with the announcement today. It's pretty clear that the so-called work group was not a sincere effort on the part of the administration to gather input. The administration announced months ago that they planned to extend the order for 6 months. They got a lot of pushback. They created a working group. And now we have an announcement at a news conference with no details. This temporary rule has already been in effect for 6 months, and now the administration is proposing to ignore the feedback they've received from Michigan's job providers that there is a lack of evidence that this extension is not justified. So now they want another 180 days. Apparently they want to delay allowing businesses to reopen safely until sometime in September or October. When does it end?
And what are some of the real-world ramifications of this decision to extend by 6 months?
The real-world ramifications are the extension for another 6 months of a rule that starts with a sentence which says employers shall have a policy that prohibits employees from working in the office or in-person work unless the employer can demonstrate that it's not feasible. Prohibit means to forbid, and in this case, if the test is feasibility, an employer has to demonstrate that it's literally impossible for an employee not to work from home. It's very confusing. It is unnecessary for months and months and months now. The workplace in general and office settings in particular have not been a source of outbreaks of COVID-19. I think the challenge here is when you see yourself as a hammer, the rest of the world looks like a nail. And the administration keeps pounding away on employers, even when employers are not at fault.
And so employers were probably trying to make plans to start to bring people back to the workforce. That is basically halted now. Not likely that anytime soon people are going to be coming back. What impact is this having on the ability to do the jobs and provide the services and the goods that all these businesses and companies have been trying to provide over the last year going forward now?
Very frustrating, very discouraging for employees and employers. If there's one thing that Michigan businesses learned over the past year, it's how to reopen safely, how to operate safely to protect employees and customers. Every responsible employer wants to be in business, wants to provide products and services, and they need to survive. In the WJR listening area, not just in southeast Michigan, but across the state, we have literally seen thousands and thousands of businesses close, many of them forever because they have not been allowed to operate safely. What we're starting to see and hear now, increasingly from employees, is that there is some work that can be done at home. But if you're part of a sales team, if you're part of a focus on customer service, research, development, engineering, and design, a leading manufacturer we work with in West Michigan said a couple of weeks ago, we've had conference calls for years. There's a reason why we don't do everything by conference call. I think we're starting to lose a lot of innovation, creativity, teamwork, and cooperation, those great ideas that come from spontaneous conversations between employees and their customers, employees and their coworkers. Sadly, in some cases, we're hearing now that social distancing is starting to become social isolation. It's difficult on employees, their spouses, their children. It's the same challenge we're having statewide with so-called remote learning. At some point, we need to interact with each other. Human beings are built to interact with each other. That's often when we're at our very best. And more we're hearing from employees that they would like to be able to return to work safely.
Yeah, employees I talk to say their own productivity is plummeted and they're not happy. They want to get back to the office. They want to get working again. Rich Studley, we appreciate you stepping in and bringing us up to speed on this. Thanks for joining us on the Guy Gordon Show.
Thank you. We're going to continue to fight to reopen Michigan safely.
All right. Thank you very much.